Welcome to the State Education Resource Center program, otherwise called SERC. My name is Linnet, Carty, and it's a pleasure to have you with us today. And what an exciting show we have for you. Today we will be talking about augmentative and alternative communication and the Americans with Disabilities Act. Joining me to discuss these two topics today are consultant Sally Esposito and also consultant from SERC, Dr. Smita, Worah. Welcome, ladies. Thanks so much for coming. I'll pose my first question to you, Smita. Please tell our viewers what augmentative and alternative communication is all about.
Augmentative and alternative communication is a mode of communication. You know, there are many children with disabilities who are unable to use speech, the primary mode of communication. So they communicate via different means, such as objects, pictures, speech-generating devices, and augmentative and alternative communication involves communicating via these different means.
So why should children have access to augmentative and alternative communication? Why is that important?
Communication is a necessity for all children, right? Everybody communicates. We cannot live without communication. A baby starts to communicate as soon as he or she is born. And as children enter school and go into the workforce, develop, communication is a prerequisite for everything we do. Everything we do underlies communication, requires communication. So young kids or kids with disabilities who are unable to use speech, the primary mode of communication, must have access to augmentative and alternative communication. This enables them to participate in educational, social and vocational activities.
Well, I know our viewers at home are probably thinking, well, when should these services be provided for my child or for my friend's child? It could be a grandparent raising a child. When would those services actually be provided?
And these services can be provided as early as 6 months of age. There is evidence to suggest that young kids with disabilities or as young as 6 months can use computers to communicate, use these object schedules to communicate. We should not wait for a child's speech. We should not wait for the speech to do. No, wait that if a child's speech doesn't develop, then provide augmentative and alternative communication. Because speech, we communicate without speech.
Yes.
So
okay.
we must provide them as early as we feel that a child has an issue with communication or has significant disabilities such as Down syndrome or cerebral palsy or autism. We can provide them with access to augmentative and alternative communication very early in life.
Great. So that leads me right into the Americans with Disabilities Act. Can you please share with our viewers a little bit about exactly what that means and some of the basic facets of it?
Sure. The Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law in 1990. Actually, we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And it was something that advocates, people with disabilities and supporters worked toward for many years. And essentially what Congress found in enacting the law was that people with disabilities did not have any legal protections against discrimination. So this law was enacted in order to provide protections in that regard. So it is a civil rights law. It is something that prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities.
So give me an example of what that discrimination might look like.
Sure. And just there are different areas that ADA covers, essentially. So ADA covers employment, for example. So if you're a person with a disability, you have certain protections. If you're a person whose disability qualifies under ADA, you have protections against discrimination in employment, and that can be in any phase of employment, from application through promotion and everything related to employment. It also covers state and local government. So for example, if someone is trying to access a service that your local town provides, if for example a person is blind and they need something in an alternative format, such as Braille or some audio materials, then that is something that in likelihood the local government would need to provide. It covers private business, retail. It covers what we call public accommodations. It can be things like transportation, walking into a store, where there is a service to be provided. And it also covers telecommunications. So there are certain requirements that provide for what is called a relay service. So any entity, public entity that is a state government is required to provide a relay service, for example, for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing.
Cool. All right. So how does that relate to augmentative and alternative communication? What sorts of impacts do the two, how do they intersect?
Well, the intersection may be a little less direct than one might think, but what you might find is for an accommodation for either an employee or, let's say, a participant in a program, in order for them to participate and gain benefit from the program, they may benefit from using a tool like this, a type of equipment or a computer or something, a speech computer where they might be unable to speak. They may be able to benefit from some type of equipment like this. You might be able to benefit if you go to a library, for example, and you need to access materials in an alternate format in that regard.
Great. So Smita, let's talk about the different types of AAC systems that you have here. You brought some for us to see, so let's talk a little bit about them.
This is just a sample of the AAC system that we have. You know, there are many AAC systems out there. We cannot say that one system is better than the other. So these are just some of the samples that we have. This is an object scheduler or an object communication board. This can be used for a very young child or person with significant disabilities. The one that we have here is for a young child. You can provide choices of different activities or a schedule in a preschool. Like first we're going to do coloring, then we're going to read a book, and we're going to play with a toy, and we're going to do some writing work. And the objects can be changed. They're very easy and very easy to use. Then we have an alphabet board. This can be used for an adult or for a young child who is literate and read, and they can just point to the alphabet board and speak and write words.
And it has numeric on there as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Then we have a simple one message digitized device, and that can, you can use it to greet, to participate in an activity for a variety of different reasons.
And this actually is an audio, so if you press it, it says, hello, how are you? And it has a little picture there. Okay.
Yes. The picture is to, just to give a cue, and you can change the pictures as you go along. I have a set of pictures, and you can just change
the pictures as you go.
And you can record the message. It's very easy to record. You can record it on the go.
Great.
This is a Tech Talk. Yes. And this has got different levels. You can record a child's entire day, and the child can have access to 8 messages for different situations. Like one that we have here is for a football game. Young kids love football. We have this for a football game.
So what would some of the messages that would be there for the football game?
I like this player. Oh, this player sucks. Or, the team didn't play. I'm really sad. They didn't score a goal in halftime. It's just some of the messages.
The basic messages.
Yes. Or you can have, about players, any messages, and this can also be recorded.
Okay.
And this is a very sophisticated computer system, and this has a lot of potential for anybody. It can be recorded for very young kids, as well as adults who are young adults who are in school or who are going to school. And this is a high-end device.
Okay.
It's like a computer.